There's a disturbing trend that I've read about as of late regarding COVID, which is that the many people who are coming into hospitals who are unvaccinated and need life saving procedures, that if it's either them or someone who is vaccinated, the doctor shouldn't give a bed to the unvaccinated. In fact, some of these doctors and healthcare workers really don't want to treat the unvaccinated at all because it was their choice to not get vaccinated. It was their choice that both puts themselves and, more importantly, the lives of others who are in danger. Now, it's true, it was their choice. They were often deeply misinformed by people that they trust, and that is damaging, and it's going to take years to undo that damage. But regardless of why they made this wrong choice, they're still human beings. And when someone comes into a hospital, it doesn't matter whether they've made a bad health decision. Imagine if everybody who made bad health decisions wouldn't get the care that they needed, we'd all be in big trouble. Doesn't matter if they've made bad health decisions, doesn't matter if they're an enemy soldier on a battlefield. When a human being comes before a doctor's responsibility is to heal them. So too, when any human being is in need and you have the power to help them, you must do so. And that idea is reflected, even commanded beautifully in this week's parasha of Mishpatim, where we continue the giving of laws after the Aseret HaDibrot, after the Ten Commandments. Moshe is continuing to give the laws of God to the people. And one of those mitzvot is about coming upon somebody who you don't like so much, and their animal is suffering. Their animal is carrying too much stuff. You must help them. So the Torah says in Shemot 23:5, Ki tireh chamor sonecha. So you see the donkey of your enemy, somebody that you hate. Rovetz tachat maso, and this animal is being crushed under its burden. It's carrying too much stuff. It's almost not even about your enemy anymore. It's more about the animal in some ways. Vechadalta me'azovlo, and you want to hold back from helping him, not because of the animal, because you hate this person. Azov ta'azov imo. It uses the word help doubly to really emphasize it. You must help him by unloading that animal. Now, there's something interesting here. Part of this mitzvah recognizes the idea that this is not a mitzvah that you just help anybody, it's specifically for someone you hate. So, what does that mean? So, the Talmud, specifically in Psachim, it gives the idea that usually it's forbidden to hate anybody, as we learn in Vayikra. You should not hate your fellow in your heart. You're not allowed to hate anybody. However, in the context of this mitzvah, this is a person where the Talmud says, Dechazi be dvar erva. You see in this person some sort of sin. This person is a bad person. You come across a person on the road, they're saying, please help me unload my animal. And you know that person is an idolater. That person is a murderer. That they abuse other people. Regardless of that hate that you bear towards them, which the Torah and the Talmud say, look, if somebody's a really bad person, you can hate at least that action they do. If not the person, you can hate what they've done. But despite that, despite the fact that they deserve punishment and consequences for what they've done, you still help a person when they're in need, specifically their animal. But then the medieval commentary known as Tosafot, which are the schools that were started by the grandchildren and the intellectual and physical descendants of Rashi, see a problem here because they notice that later in the Talmud, in the book of Bava Metzia, there's a different case, and it brings two people. One is your friend, somebody you love, and they need help unloading their animal who's suffering. And then there's someone who you hate, an enemy, and they need help loading their animals. So their animal's just chilling there. Who do you choose first? And the answer of the Talmud is actually you help your enemy first. And the Talmud is troubled by this because of animal suffering, tsa'ar ba'alei chayim, suffering of animals. So why would you help your enemy first to load up their animal? And the answer that the Talmud gives is kedei lachof et yitzro, in order to quash, to crush your evil inclination. So that if you have hate for this person, you need to overcome it. But what do? We established earlier that there's some people that are just evil and you can hate what they do and what they've done and you still help them. But here it says you have to overcome that hate. So what's the answer here? So Tosafot, this commentary, tries to resolve this by first validating these negative, hateful feelings. Even hatred towards someone who has sinned or done something damaging, hurtful. But The Tosfot also assumes the sinner probably doesn't like us too much either. It's this mutual hatred. But here's where they say it's going too far, where you have to quash your inner turmoil or inner hatred. Where if we let it affect our basic human decency, we already hate each other, but I'm not going to help you, I'm going to bear a grudge. Then what's going to happen? It's going to increase that hatred. And it's going to create this destructive, endless cycle where nobody's helping anybody and everybody's suffering because of it. That's what's forbidden. Not the initial hatred, but allowing it to continue. So maybe I'm helping someone and I begrudge them and I resent them, but at the end of the day, I don't want to let this get any farther. I want to be the better person. Take the higher road as it is. But there's a deeper, more beautiful idea here. And it talks about how we resist, showing compassion, kindness, and even basic courtesies to those we resent. And during the times of COVID, that resentment of other people has grown out of proportion. There's a rabbi, a 20th century Lithuanian rabbi, Rabbi Baruch Epstein, in his work Torah Tzimima, quoting an earlier rabbi. And he sees this case a little differently. He makes it not about the cycle of hatred and trying to end it, but more about the person who is in need of help, the person who might be lying in the hospital bed. The person who needs help is hateful to everyone who perhaps can help him or her, who wants to help them. And the person, the nurse, the doctor, the case we talked about, is resentful. Is resentful that the person lying in the bed has rejected them, has rejected their medicine, rejected everything about them until it's too late, until they need help loading their animal or getting care. And that kind of resentment at, you know what? You didn't want any help from me. You didn't believe me. You didn't trust me. I don't want to help you. That kind of resentment can eat us up inside. It can destroy us and prevent us from helping people who are truly in need. The Israeli rabbi, Rabbi David Silverberg, summarizes this idea from the Torah Tzimima quite beautifully. He says, the Torah calls upon the despised individual and urges him to work to overcome his feelings of resentment and lend the other person the help he needs. Quite obviously, we are naturally disinclined to do favors and to extend ourselves on behalf of those who dislike us, and I, Rabbi Dinan, would add those who distrust us. However, the Gemara teaches us that we are to subdue our evil inclination, the instinctive apathy we feel towards the plight of those who show us contempt, and lend them assistance when they require it. This is a powerful message for our day where there's so much resentment going around, but we need to quash that because at the end of the day, a doctor helps a person who is sick, and a human being who is in need. It doesn't matter what they believe or what they've done, and you can be furious at them for what they've done, and you can try and change what they've done. You can try and make consequences for what they've done. But when a person is in need, when a human being needs help, you help them. That is what the Torah urges us to do, to overcome our negative, even understandable feelings. But when a human being needs help, we help them no matter what. Shabbat Shalom.